Well, round 19 was very much a lucky week for my side. Ended up having 16 players and still made almost 1,000 ranks there. And the last few weeks, last 5 weeks or so, has been a massive turnaround, and I probably didn't expect it as I was treading water for a while there. 13-11 this week with almost everything going correctly. Basically, I had the Herbie VC, and I was like, oh, with 16 players, he got 80. I should probably try and get 100 plus from Teddy, and of course Herbie ended up getting up almost 30 points, which is pretty crazy. But into 4,563 myself here, and in just a miraculous turnaround, as I said. And let's go through the history and just kind of explain what I meant there. And as you can see, pushed into 5K, which was my best rank of the season until this week. So impressed that we've been able to turn around, but pushed out to basically 10,000 in round 8, and just got worse and worse almost every week, up out to my worst at 11,800 in round 12, and then 10,800, just basically staying near that number for almost a 7 to 8 week period there. And then every week since then, since that 10,800 in round 14, it's been an improvement there. 9,061, 8,158, 6,145, 5,491, and then the 4,500 with the team value actually going up this week, which was good. First time in a little while, given I peaked out at 16 million in round 13 there. Got down to 15,250 last week, and then up into 15,647. So a much improved little finisher. And we were comparing it to 2024 as well. And you can see there was a nice sort of drawdown from about that round 9 mark there at 8,500, and then just slowly building into a good position from there, and then didn't have any juice at the end to improve from that. So continuing to try and learn from last year, we did end up in a different position here, and I think that the luck has definitely turned around in my side, which is great news, exactly what we do want. And I've just organized a squad here based on how it might look this week, and without trades, actually have a pretty strong 18 there without Payne Haas. That's not including Tom Starling sitting on the bench right now after I bought Connor Watson last week. And the Raiders do play, where's Canberra? They play Parramatta this week at home, so like Starling could definitely do pretty well if we were to need him. With Dylan Lucas out, we probably see Thomas Cant go into that left edge back row spot, and we did need it last week and probably don't need it from here on in, but at least that's a potential scorer down there as well if things go awry through the back end of this season. But Connor Watson to be paired with Terrell May and Colin Matangi after his break. Eli Gatoa, I brought Crichton last week, and to be honest, my two Roosters this week were the two buys there, Watson and Crichton, were actually my two sort of underperformers of the week, and then Campbell as well. But a 59 wasn't too bad on his part there. So Eli Gatoa, Crichton, and Tino with Tallis Duncan coming back with I think a -4 break even in the end. It would have changed with how things went this weekend. And then Hines and Hughes. So with Cleary coming out and doing really well, that's going to be the question mark for myself. But with both those players doing a great job, and I don't think we can sell Hines heading into a really nice run like this Roosters one at home will be a good clash, and they played each other only 6 weeks or so ago up in Gosford, and the Roosters smashed them. So it'll be interesting to see if the Sharkies can bounce back, but their run improves from there. And then when you're looking at Hughes, he's really pushed himself into a rich vein of form, and both those guys are doing great. So if you were to upgrade either of them to Cleary, it does feel like a bit of a luxury, and maybe these two are not the guys to trade out. And maybe if you do want Cleary, it sits down here in the flex position. That's probably the way if I'm to look to get Cleary, it's probably going to be down here in this slot. And now Penrith Panthers actually have a pretty solid run of games there, with the Tigers following the Rabbitohs this week, and then the following week they come up against the Titans as well. So it's probably going to be a pretty tough time to not go into the week ahead without Cleary. let's just have a look in that flex position, because it's going to show all the top scorers across the run here. Just before we do that, just finish off the rest of my squad. So Campbell and Munster this week after his rest, and then it's Farnworth, Garrick, Carraz with his fairly low one. But Adam Dewey, just a big shout out to him. A very, very impressive match with the 2 tries and the try assist there. And then I had Ramian 69. So really, really nice scores from those couple of players. Just unexpected in a way. So to get that was a big win. And then to have Teddy with his solid score as captain up to the 84. It was a little bit lower, so very happy with the update there. So generally just pretty good scores across the board. No one, playing one short. No one, no one had a poor score there, which was good. Now, to the flex side of things, is Papenhuyzen a sell? Potentially, he definitely could be. But how do you get to Cleary? You're going to need some cash. Anyway, the averages have Teddy and Payne Haas in a very important position. So with Payne having the bye this week, a very easy hold off until the following. I personally own, so I'm just going to stick with that. You got Herbie, who is just such an important player this year, averaging 86 and 110 in his last 5. Absolutely incredible. Terrell May, it's still the second best front row forward, which is crazy when you're averaging 85 to be the second best. Pappy is in there, and the person we don't see right in that top spot is actually Cleary. But if I look at that myself, take away the 100k, I think I have about 740 odd if I was to sell Pap, and Cleary could be that option. So that's definitely something that you can look at. Drinkwater is one of those guys as well. If Pappy's all good to go, then you could use the Drinkwater cash to sell down there. To get to Cleary, I do feel like he's someone that's going to be fairly important, very important for the way home. But just has a 76 average across his last 3, across the last 5, and for the season as well. But he's definitely going to be someone on people's lips. And we look a little bit lower. We've got Hudson Young, who's back now after Origin, after the bye as well. 749k, has had the 81 average season. Do you want to go for him at 750, or do you go a little bit cheaper with a Crichton? Do you make sure that you get Eli Katoa, who is a very similar price now to Hudson Young? Very much a point of difference type play. You can see the majority of these high scorers here, 38%, with Herbie's actually lowest in that top 5. And then you can see all the guys around that top 5. Hudson Young has the lowest by far. Carraz is down at 25%, which is pretty solid. And then Drinkwater is in there as well. So thankfully, almost all these guys, 7 of the top 8 I do own currently. It's just Hudson Young that I don't, which makes sense. So he's definitely an option up there in that position. Eli Katoa, as we said. Cleary, just spoke about him. And then you've got guys like Garrick. And then it's with Lucas being injured as well, the 637k, that's more where I'd be looking to sell is through Dylan Lucas. But him sitting there right now doesn't actually cause me any harm, given the squad that I'm sitting with right now. And the question could be, if Pappy is dealing with some more issues, then that's a spot I could go at Pap to Cleary there. Lomax and Holmes are the two centre wings on the list that I don't have, and is where I could easily move Lucas to one of these two. Yeah, very, very similar price to Cleary, a little bit under that, which is helpful. But who do we expect to average more for the run home? It's probably Cleary, but I would have to give up a Pap, a Hines, or a Hughes for him. Which, do I want to do that? Might have to, if Pap's still injured. But going a Lucas to a Lomax or Holmes, I feel like with this one, it's more personal preference. Like, these guys seem to continue averaging about the same. They'll do it each year. It's more just a luck factor. They both don't have crazy great draws there. Lomax was still able to score 86 against the Panthers, so he can score in base and get some type of attack like he did on the weekend. And very similar with Holmes, he's going to get some type of attack, given that left-hand side is where they want to go. Nawangi Tawaze, a great guy to own as well. Just a slight tier below those few in Lomax and Holmes. As you can see on the weekend, wasn't able to get any footy, and unfortunately was only able to get a 32 with less base, and he's been scoring a lot of tries. Now, if you need a second row forward or front row forward, Tino now at 551. If you haven't held all the way through like I have, then he becomes a very, very clear option as well. Bradman Best, I'd say he's an interesting one, but at 717k, you very, very clearly go for the other guys before him. Joe Tarpanay, the 71 average, but ice cold at the moment, 593k. Some people sold last week. Jacob Preston at 636, I think is a fun one as well. Aaron Clark continues to do great work. So you've got a lot of these guns. Now you're getting into the 26th and 27th best. These are guys that are slightly outside the elite tier, but I think when you're going for these types of players, you're looking at getting under 600k would be ideal, or closer to that mark. So this is kind of the fringe of it is Preston, and Aaron Clark is scoring better than what his average suggests, given the minutes at the start of the year, and the dual position is helpful. So he's kind of the top end of that. If you do or are interested in a 5/8 target, and you don't have the two that I'm sitting with, and Campbell and Munster, who feel just easy holds at the moment. Hopefully Campbell can score some points against the Tigers. But I do see Tanner Boyd as being a pretty solid option there at 329k. You can get him as a potential scorer in your 17. More on matchup. Against the Newcastle Knights, he could score well, but he could also have some 30s and 40s if they happen to lose, or if they aren't putting on the 20, 30, 40 points that they can in other matchups. Kikau, a bit of an ice cold one for him, 42. He'll be interesting if he can get another low score in him, then under 600k is that type of time to buy these types of point of difference type players like Kikau is. Still 17.7%, pretty crazy. Guys like Keon, I think we're going to keep an eye on. I think that buy really helped, and he's got one to come later, so hopefully he can continue to play big minutes and do a good job. Karapani stopped making cash, so 478k. If you need an upgrade target, then he could be one of them. You do want to have a fair bit of cash in the bank though, at least a couple hundred to get close to it. Actually, you can 150 in certain aspects to get to where you want to go. Adam Fanor-Blake feels like a very easy hold, or potentially a buy at 580k. He could be even cheaper after this week, given the 53 3-round average. So look at him as a potential option as well to finish out the year. They do have one buy remaining. But as I said, a really, really good price point to climb in at. Reece Walsh, you can get funky with. You can get funky with Latrell Mitchell as well in his return this week. So that's good stuff. Campbell, 536. It's so cheap. It is up against the Tigers, so I'm kind of hoping that he comes out and does really well, but it's not guaranteed, since his injury hasn't performed the same as what he did before, but it has just been a couple of rougher weeks, and hopefully that can turn around for him. And you also know that, guys like this, that they can explode, and anywhere near 500k is an absolute steal. It's just more of what position do you need to improve upon, and which risk do you want to take at which price point and the position. There's Crichton there, the 63 average. You've got Britton Nickera, he's up at 668, so I looked at him this week coming into this round 19, and I was like, I think he's going to have a good run, he should do pretty well. But then you look at the price point, you're like, we kind of want to get Nickera under that 600k because he will be up and down. So this is one of those up games, and very much the same with Blake Brayley, who has been spectacular. 87 average in the last 3, 81 the last 5, so good stuff, Blake. He's finally running the footy and doing some good work. You got Turbo down there in the mid 500s. Latrell at 644. So it's all decent prices, but there's kind of like you can throw a blanket over the 580k to sort of 710k. There's not too much in between those with how much cash to save, I should say. But there are a few of those guys that have that boom potential, and that's where you definitely want to try and push yourself towards. Matt Burton, I thought looked really good the other day as well, so 573k for him is fun. And now we're into the under 60 average guys, and Harry Grant down to 578. So if you want to go for him instead of Connor Watson, then that works well. Hopefully you can bag a try or two out of him and do some good things there. Casey McLean with a dirty 70 there. Braden Burns, Billy Smith, of course, after we all sold him. So that's kind of the general gist this week, I think, is the easiest way for me to go through this in my shorter form. giving you a few examples from my side. Duncan's an interesting one to see if he's going to continue to do well. He, with that low break even, could be 750 or so this week, and then he can go to anyone. So that's something that I'm looking at and considering as well, that if I could do some maneuvering around, I think I'd be able to there. Would I? Maybe not. I was trying to think if I didn't get Cleary this week and I sold Pappenhausen, Lucas would be already out of the side, so I wouldn't be able to move a 2RF up. That could be tough. Damn. Bradley. Yeah, damn. That makes it a bit harder, actually. That would have been a fun little one to upgrade, but we also want Pap to come back and do well. That's the goal also. Anyway, let's go and check out the leagues and see where we're at. So private group, I pushed forward 3 spots, which is good. Scoop still is out in front at 123 with David at 316, Jaden at 336, the guys in the top 1,000. So I'm pushing towards it. I don't think I'm going to challenge that top 3 especially, but hey, Don in 4th, I'm coming for you. I'm going to try to anyway if we can keep going up every week. But shout out to Matthew, the Terrace crew, into 6 overall, which is so impressive. Luke in at 70th with Lockie, the Scoopman at 123. So push forward 6 spots in the podcasters, which is good. A few of the guys there doing having really solid seasons in the top 1,000, and we'll see how the rest of them end up over the next few weeks there. Been an awesome season with a couple of guys up top, just like we had last year with Marky Boy in there sitting in 2nd for a long time. All right, did get another win in, I think, all of my head-to-heads, which was great, especially, as I said, the All-Stars one there. Picked up a big win with 16 players, so very, very happy with that. The private crew head-to-heads into 9th in one of them, so that was a good win. Needed that in number 2, in 4th in number 3, and then also in number 1. Sitting at 8th, so that's the NRL Podmasters. There's the one. Sitting in 2nd in that one, so I really need to push and continue pushing in the few that I'm in. But hopefully not to use too many trades, and that's something to think about there. So with Lucas being out, I actually don't have to trade. As I said, really strong 18 this week with Dewey up against the Titans. I think that's a pretty strong matchup for me to stick with him and play him this week. Sitting Ramey and sitting sitting Starling at this point as well, and not trading and having a good spot. And if Pappenhausen was to be out again, then I think the easy move this week could be him to Cleary. Otherwise, Lucas to Lomax is kind of generally where I'm thinking right now. So that's Supercoach for the week, guys. Heading into round 20. Keep pushing to get your final teams sorted. You'll see there sit v starts each week will start to get a little bit harder. And that's where the suggestion of having a few of these cheaper guys that you're probably not going to bother with on your side just makes it that little bit helpful. You don't have to worry about those decisions. And you've got that really strong team anyway, because you've built up somewhat of a decent team value, and you've also got the cheaper guys to give you more cash to spend everywhere else. And that's where you can see that the team's looking pretty solid, just with a little bit of room to move in that centre wing with one of those guys at least, which would be good. But Dewey's pushing into a keeper apparently right now as well. So glad that in the end, nice. It's been nice over the last few weeks that the scores that he's thrown up there with me picking him up that week. He went to 6 when Galvin, was getting dropped all those weeks ago. So sometimes the mistakes or what, the things that didn't go as well at the time, they can come and swing back around, which is what's happened with the Dewey situation. That's where my team's at, guys. Let me know where you guys are at in Supercoach heading into round 20. How many trades you got left and what you're thinking of potentially doing. Let me know in the comments. I do read them all, even if I don't reply. And sorry if I don't reply. See you guys.